I saw Foreigner back in the day, but I got some questions for you. Al Greenwood's from Foreigner. I knew Bud Prager.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He was our manager
Right.
from day one. Yeah.
I was telling my director, Dominik Chadwick is our director, and I was telling him I used to manage Jimmy Miller, the Rolling Stones producer.
Oh, okay.
So we go up to Bud's office. We'd met him a couple of times. He's a great guy. Bud was wonderful to us, right?
Okay.
And
The
Jimmy
Silver
goes,
Fox. Yeah.
huh?
The Silver Fox. Heartbreaker. Yes, that's what he was known as.
So Jimmy goes to the lobby and he goes, Jimmy Miller for Bud Prager. And the girl goes, oh, Dina Miller's dad. Come on in. And Jimmy just looked at me, right?
Wow. Okay.
His daughter was a singer with Meatloaf and many people,
Right.
but the Stones producer, and he had a,
I know.
it's
Yes,
too funny.
Exactly. Gotcha.
And so my attorney was Alan Arrow. And didn't Alan Arrow work with you
Yes,
guys?
he was. He was our attorney as well. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, are you from New York originally?
No, I'm from Boston. We're going to talk about you, but I was signed to a French record label. I was the
Okay.
first artist. It became New Rose, and then I became the A&R man. So they came to me with
Okay.
Johnny Thunders of the Dolls. I signed it, became our biggest selling record of the year, and Jimmy Miller was the producer. And I said, I won't sign him until I meet Jimmy Miller, my favorite producer. And I met Jimmy, and within 3 weeks, I was managing him.
Wow. Very cool.
And we had a lot
He's
of
great.
fun. Yeah.
He's great.
But
Amazing.
Alan was wonderful, wasn't the great Alan? I
Yeah.
can't believe he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so is Bud Prager. He's
I
gone as
know.
well.
I know. These guys were so influential. So Alan told me he set up a soundstage for you guys to play for, I don't know, for Bud
For
or for Atlantic. I don't know what it was.
um, it could have been. I mean, I don't remember it. I don't recall. We rehearsed in Bud Prager's office.
Wow.
If you've ever been up in Bud Prager's office,
You were
we
in
had a.
there rehearsing?
We would rehearse before every single record in Bud Prager's office. He had a storage area in the middle of his office, and we moved the file cabinets aside and set up our instruments and play. That was where we did the whole first record, the second record. Pre-production wise, getting the songs together was in Bud Prager's office, 1790 Broadway.
That must be what Alan Arrow was talking about. Because if Ahmet came up there or Atlantic Records came over there,
Well, when we got our record deal, they came to see us. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
anyways, we're talking 40 years ago when Alan told me this, but I just
yeah,
thought
yeah.
you'd
It's a
find it
while back.
amusing.
Yeah. Yep.
What was the demo that got the deal for Atlantic?
Well, we uh, we did a demo at the Hit Factory, and we did 4 songs, and we had 2 other members in the band. Then it was Stan Williams on drums and Jay Davis on bass, and we did 4 tracks, just musical tracks, because we didn't have a singer. So in order for us to get a singer, we would audition in the Hit Factory, bring singers in one by one, sing on basically Feels Like the First Time, the backing track. And we were extremely disappointed because we had about 50 singers come through. And Mick remembered that when he was on tour, a band called Black Sheep had given him, the singer from Black Sheep had given him an album. So, and he remembered that the singer was really good. So he went home with, I think he got Ian to come over, and they listened to the Black Sheep record, and they really liked the voice, and they found out where he was, and he was living in Rochester, so they called him up, and it was Lou Graham, and he said, well, gee, I'm not really interested, my band Black Sheep just broke up, but I'll think about it. So a few days later, Mick Jones calls him back. He says, we really would like you to come down and try out. So Lou says, okay, So he comes down to the Hit Factory. He lived in Rochester, flew down to New York. In the studio, same situation. He's in the studio. We're in the control room. and he's got the lyrics for Feels Like the First Time in front of him, and he's singing to the backing track. And within the first 2 or 3 lines of the first verse, I mean, it was like automatic, this is the guy who just blew us away. It was just the perfect fit. So we finished those 4 tracks, but Prager started to bring it around to all the record labels. And every one rejected us, turned us down, nothing. We were getting nowhere. At that point, 2 of the members, Jay Davis and Stan Williams, the drummer and the bassist, they left. They thought, well, it's just not going to happen. But Bud had another idea. He said, look, I really want you guys to be on Atlantic Records. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it back to Atlantic and have them listen to it again. So he brings our demo back up to Atlantic, and this time it lands on John Kolodner's desk. And John Kolodner listens to it and says, I think there's something really going to be really big here. I really hear it. So he brings it up to Jerry Greenberg, who is the president of Atlantic at the time, and he convinces them to sign us. And that's basically how we got our deal, is John Kolodner. Wasn't for John, there'd be no Foreigner, really.
Amazing story.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kolodner's got quite a history.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think he started with Foreigner, basically. That was his first big act that he signed.
Years later, he resurrected Aerosmith.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became a great A&R person. I mean, the stuff, everything that he touched turned to, just amazing.
Platinum,
easily, yeah.
How'd you begin, Al? What was your beginning in music?
Well, I was fortunate that I lived in a house full of musicians. My mother played the accordion. My grandfather played the piano. My uncle played the saxophone. He was in a band. And my sister played piano. She was taking piano lessons. And she's about 3 years older than I was. I got really interested in the piano, so I started playing myself. And that's how I, took up the piano. I got into bands. I mean, this was the early 60s, so obviously the Beatles were a huge influence. They came on the scene, and everything just exploded at that point. And from when I was 13 onward, I've been in a band, basically one band to another. And I was doing session work in the early 70s. So I was making a name for myself. I was in a band with some ex-members of a British prog rock group called Flash. And that broke up. And then I had my own band, and that's how I met Mick. It was a cold day in February of 1976 in New York. I get a phone call, and it's from Mick Jones. And I had no idea who Mick Jones was. So he explained, he said, well, I was in Spooky Tooth, and I was in the Leslie West Band, and a whole bunch of other things. And he's putting together a new project. Would I be interested in doing it? And I said, well, I've got my own band, But I thought to myself, well, it looks like he's got more going on than I do. So I'm going to go and check it out. So that's when we got together up in Bud Prager's office, the 4 of us. It was Mick, myself, Jay Davis, Stan Williams, and we started jamming. Just blues jams, Johnny B. Good, anything you could think of, we just jammed. So after about 2 weeks of just jamming, I said to myself, well, I don't know if this is for me. I don't, we're not doing any songs. It doesn't really sound like we've got a direction or anything. I'm going to go in the next day and tell Mick I'm going to go back with the band that I had. This isn't really doing it for me. So I go in the next day, and I'm about to go up to Mick and say, I'm going to go back to my band. And he says, I've got this song. I go, okay. So he starts playing Feels Like the First Time on guitar. And I go, holy moly, I think we got something here. And needless to say, I did not tell Mick that I was going to leave, because I knew that was going to be a really good song. And it was. So it still sends chills up my spine when I think about that moment when he started playing that song. So that started the whole thing. From there, the rest is history. We got Ian McDonald came in a few weeks later, and I was a big King Crimson fan. I was a prog rock guy. So King Crimson was just huge for me. And when Ian McDonald walked into our, rehearsal room, I was like, oh my God. And then, we got Lou Gramm on vocals and, the rest with Bud Prager.
It all worked out. I was in Bud's office one day, and he told me he picked up the phone and got a deal for Leslie West with Scotty Brothers just for the phone call. So Bud was involved with Leslie, too?
Yes. That's how, long story short, he was managing Leslie West. And Mick Jones was also one of the guitarists in the Leslie West band, along with Kenny Aronson, who was playing bass. And Kenny Aronson was in the band with Flash with me. So when the Leslie West band broke up and Mick wanted to go his own way, he asked Kenny if he wanted to be the bass player. And Kenny said, well, I just, hooked up with Rick Derringer. But Mick said, do you know any other musicians? So he says, oh, I know Al Greenwood. He's a great keyboard player. And he gave him my number. And that's how that whole thing came about.
Oh, terrific story. Wow, that's great. What were some of the sessions you did back in the day before Foreigner?
I did a lot of commercials. I worked at a studio called Sear Sound, which was on the west side of Manhattan, as a synthesist. So I would do, sound effects and things like that for commercials, and no real big artists that, that came through. I did a lot of demos, but I don't think anything that amounted to much. So, basically just running the rounds as a session musician, and, the band that I had with the ex-members of Flash.
I think I saw the band at the Worcester Centrum when I Want to Know What Love Is came out.
Okay.
Great show.
Yeah.
Wonderful show. And a wonderful song.
Oh, it's an amazing song. I mean, huge song. I mean, it was number one for like 10 weeks. It was just incredible.
Stunning. I'm good friends with Ian Lloyd.
Oh.
I was an original Stories fan before they were famous.
Okay.
I was going to see them at this Stone Coffee Club where Berklee College of Music is now, and you have to go down 2 or 3 flights downstairs, and that's where Stories was playing.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then,
funny you should ask about Ian Lloyd. He was going to be our lead singer.
Oh really?
In Foreigner, yes. He came down and he started with us in the rehearsal room at Bud Prager's office, but he was signed to another deal as a solo deal, and he couldn't get out of his deal to join the band, so he couldn't do it. But he actually sings backing harmonies on every Foreigner record. You can hear that raspy Ian Lloyd vocal in there.
Yeah.
And I just talked to Ian a few weeks ago, so we're still friends. We still stay in touch.
Oh, that's great. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but we're friends on Facebook now. But he's been on the show a few times, and
he's great.
Yeah, he had this terrific band with his son, and they'd come up to Boston and play, and it was really wonderful. It was the son's band with all these kids, and then there's Ian Lloyd in the band, and having that guy that knew everything, it really brought this young band to another level. Ian just brought them to another level, and they were terrific. I wish that they had gone further. But that was, that's how I met Ian face to face again after knowing him from the early days.
Oh,
there's a club called the Paradise in Boston. You must know it. It's the best concert club. It used to be the Boston Club. And I saw Stories there too, and Tim Hardin and all these different people.
Wow, that's way back.
Yeah, way back. And then it became Dummies, and then it became the Paradise. But that's where I saw Stories play before Brother Louie hit.
Right.
Right before.
Yeah. Stories was basically a very progressive band. They had the hit with Brother Louie, which, gave them the stardom. But they were a very musical band.
Well, it was Michael Brown was with them from the Left Bank, and then he kind of left, and they were, Ian's band at that point.
Yeah.
But I knew that there was this foreigner connection, so I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, definitely.
What else did you play on? Like after you played with Rainbow, I think.
I played with Joe Turner,
Okay.
who was the singer in Rainbow. I played. I had a band called Spies with Ed Gagliardi from Foreigner. So we did Spies. We were on Ian Mai. We did 2 records there, and then I jumped to. I met Joe Turner, who was the singer of Rainbow. I did a record with him on Elektra Records, and then after that, I was just putting together bands and producing bands. Had a recording studio with a good friend of mine in the 90s, and produced a bunch of bands. We did Red Man, and the list is endless of artists. And then I started doing soundtrack work. I did that for a while. So I've run the gamut here. And then we did the reunion shows. I got a call in 2017 that it's the 40th anniversary of Foreigner, and they want to get everybody together and start doing the reunion shows, which I thought would be a great idea. And it was just turned out to be fantastic. Ian was still with us then, so we had the full lineup on stage, and we did a bunch of shows along with the present Foreigner band, which, by the way, is incredible. I don't know if you've seen Foreigner with Kelly Hansen and all the guys out there, but they put on a hell of a show, and they've been doing it for now close to 20 years. But we would combine the present Foreigner band with the reunion Foreigner band, and they would do half of the set, and we would do the other half of the set, and then for the encore, we would all come out together and do what was called Super Foreigner. So we had both bands together, yeah. But it was pretty amazing because it was the first time being on stage again and looking out and seeing the backs of the front 4 of, Ian MacDonald and Rick Wills and Lou Gramm and Mick Jones, and having Dennis Elliott next to me on the riser. It was a pinch me moment. It was unreal.
Yeah, I think I reviewed a Foreigner DVD, and I think it was the new singer Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great. He's fantastic showman. So, the guys are just great musicians, fun to be around. I love doing shows with them. I still go out and I do, from time to time. I join them. I think we're going to be doing the residency at the Venetian, which starts at the end of October. So it'll be right after the induction ceremony for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll be doing, I think, 8 dates at the Venetian with them. So I'm looking forward to that.
Where's the Venetian?
It's in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful hotel. One of the nicest ones there, and a great venue. So I always have a good time there.
Yeah, and so the Hall of Fame is out in Vegas, or
no? The Hall of Fame actually, it's going to be in Cleveland.
Yeah, I know it's in Cleveland, but the event will be in Cleveland.
The event will be at the Rocket Mortgage Arena.
Wow.
In Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So,
yeah.
Are you writing songs today? I see a guitar behind you.
Yeah, I still write. I have a studio right next to me here. I still write. I'm working on an album, which it's taken me a lot longer than I expected, but it's sort of like a blessing and a curse to have a studio in your house, because it's always there. So whenever you get that inspiration to do something, it's there. You could jot it down, but it just also, I'm a perfectionist, so anytime I do something, it's got to be just right. It takes me a long time to get things going. But I have a website. It's al-greenwood.com that I have some of my original stuff up there. And the reason that it's al-greenwood.com is because algreenwood.com is owned by a woman in England, and she will not give up the domain name. So I can't get it. I've offered her a ton of money for it. She just refuses to let it go. I don't know who else would ever want it. I mean, how many Al Greenwoods are there out there? But I can't get it. So it has a hyphen in it to make it work.
That's really tacky. This guy, Pat Benty in Boston, would help the bands like the Platters and the Supremes retain. Yeah, he had FAME, fame, and so he would help them retain the rights. So if someone, there were these fake zombies going out, time of the season, and the zombies were very good about effectively shutting them down. But there was a lot of that going on, especially with the Platters and stuff. So Pat is a friend of mine, and he would make sure that they got that an original member of the band had to be owner of the name,
Right.
Or in some way happy with what's going on.
Right.
And so that should be the same thing for domain names.
I would think so. Yeah. I don't, she doesn't use it. So if you go to algreenwood.com, it just doesn't show anything. So she's not using it for anything. But I can't seem to pry it away from her. She doesn't want to let it go. I don't know why. Okay. But there's ways around it, so I've done it.
Remember Sunny by Bobby Hebb?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bobby was one of my dearest friends, so I'm now producer for the estate. And somehow we lost the BobbyHebb.com. I don't know how, but it was not in my purview at the time. So now we have Bobby Hebb Studio. But it's a shame that people can hijack if someone misses the payment for 1 month. And it was certainly inadvertent. I don't know how, but fell through the cracks. And Bobby's daughter came up and said, we're now Bobby Hebb Studio. I said, I love it because Bobby was in the studio so much. You're in the studio.
Right. Now that works. Yeah. Like I said, there's ways around it. You just got to be creative.
Al Greenwood Studio.
Could do that too. Yes.
So talking to John Batdorf, he's like not going to tour. He's writing so much music, he's just recording and recording and recording. Do you find that you fall into that? Oh, I wrote the song, I got to record, and then he's just so into it.
Yeah, I mean, I do it mostly for me. It's not. I'm not looking for any huge success with any of this. I do it because it's who I am. I mean, I'm a musician, so I'm creative and I write and I love to put down my ideas, and wherever it goes, wherever the brain cells take me is that's where I'm going to go. And whether somebody likes it or not, that's fine. If they love it, if they don't, I do it because I just love doing it. So as far as going out and touring with this, I'm not so sure I would do that at this point. I just enjoy putting it out. I put it on Spotify and Apple Music and things like that. So anytime I write something, I'll put it up there and people can listen to it, or they go to the website and they can hear it. But other than that, I'm not looking to go out on tour or be something big again. I mean, Foreigner takes a lot of my time, and like I said, I love joining the guys, the present Foreigner band out there, and going to the shows and joining them on stage. It's a big thrill. So,
do you have New England in the coming up anytime soon?
Well, I don't think for the rest of this year. For me, the only time that I'm going to be doing anything is the Venetian after the after that, and that's the end of the tour for this year. Next year, I think we'll be doing a bunch more shows. Rick Wills, the bass player, and I usually go out and do these shows. So I think there'll be more on the calendar for next year.
Yeah, that Vegas and 7-8 dates. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a beautiful place, and you stay in the hotel, so it's a pretty easy show. You just go downstairs to the venue and do the show, and you eat at the restaurant within the hotel, and you go back up to your room. Very nice.
Do you or someone in the band still tape any of the events, any of the shows?
Oh yeah, I think they tape every single one. I mean, you
Wonderful.
get a board mix every night. I think the sound person does it. So there's always something there. Um,
Yeah, because
so
of these
yeah,
day and age of cell phones, you know how it is. The audience, they're all. You can get the entire Mott the Hoople in Boston, and Mott didn't authorize it, but people
right.
tape the entire show, and it's like, oh wow, I can get a 2 camera shoot of Mott. They don't
Yeah,
even know about, and it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
um, so I asked Ian Anderson if he liked the tapings of his shows. He said, God no, he doesn't, he doesn't. But we're in the world of cell phones, so I go to the show later in the night, and he goes into Aqualung, and there's like 200 cell phones up in the air.
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. I mean, people tape it. You got the whole video and the thing, and they post it up to YouTube, and the whole show is there. And it's I mean, it's good in a way because it really spreads the word out there. I mean, to see the show, but there's nothing like being live. Seeing the
Right.
band live and hearing it live and feeling it.
Hmm.
Um, but that's the way things are today. I mean, cell phones are, they record, they do video,
And
uh,
they've gotten better at it. I'm so happy to hear that you're taping your own shows because I think it's so important. The band has a vault, and you
yeah,
never know if you reach a high one night on a song that's like, wow, we did that more spectacular than last night,
sure,
and you want to
yeah,
grab that moment.
yeah. You never know, sure,
And sometimes the audience just goes wild, and that they didn't the night before, as crazy as they can get.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I do appreciate your time. Anything else you want to tell our audience?
Um, let's see. Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's coming up October 19th. It's going to be on Disney Plus and Hulu. And at a later date, it's going to be televised on channel WABC. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And, it's just been an exciting time to finally get not only nominated, but inducted. I mean, we've waited 22 years. Um, but we're finally in. Don't know the reason why we weren't let in before this. But we're going to be there, and we'll see what happens at the show. I don't know, where, or it's up to the producers of the show as to what we're going to do.
Well, always think of good vibes of Alan Arrow and Bud Prager because, wow, from there to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is really, really special.
Yeah, I wish they were still with us. We lost two members of the band too, Ian McDonald and Ed Gagliardi. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a sad thing that they couldn't join us in this celebration.
No, Alan was such a great attorney. I put my signature on a Motown deal with him. He was just a really good guiding force. You knew you could trust Alan Arrow.
Yeah.
I walked into his office with the Hitmen book. Remember that book?
Oh yeah.
Hitmen. And I walk
Sure.
in and he goes, I just sent out for that because Dick Asher's in it, of course.
Yeah.
I just have fond memories of Alan.
Yeah.
I know you've got the tour in Vegas, but I know you're not like doing the full tour right now. And I appreciate your time because I asked John Lappen. I knew he represented you, and John's a friend, and I appreciate that you put the time aside for me today.
Oh sure, Joe.
No,
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Been
yeah,
great.
and when you're touring again, if you want to come on and talk, we've been doing this show a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have some dates in the Boston area next year,
Yeah, and we can chat
and come
again if
down
you
and
like.
check. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
al-greenwood.com?
That's it. Yeah.
Not Alan, al-greenwood.com.
Greenwood.com.
I'm going to hear
That's
your new
it.
music tonight.
Okay. Good.
Cool, Alan. Hey, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
It's been great doing this with you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.